Hey everybody, clearing. All right, here we go. This is going to be, I guess, a spine of fire chakra reading. So I got the masculines on the left, feminines on the right, and I'm gonna just start pulling some cards for each of the chakra levels and see where each counterpart's at right now. Thank you, Divine Creator, for using me as a channel of only the highest, most beneficial information coming through. What can we see for the divine masculines, the divine feminines, and where everybody's at in the collective? So we do have a full moon in Virgo on the 24th, and I like to affectionately call Virgo the realist. So yeah, things, practical assessment of the connections are coming up. Like the things you can't deny, the things that need to be said out loud already will be coming to highlight on this full moon. It's going to be bringing focus. So let's have a look actually in light of preparation for this Virgo full moon, where things are at. What can we see for the feminines, the masculines on all these levels? What do each need to know? I'm going to pull a card about how each are seeing things on each of these levels, and then what advice for the masculines and feminines can come through. All right, crown chakra. I was getting the nudge to do it like this. So crown chakra energies, what can we see? Metatron star, exaltation, brilliance, triumph, and victory. And blue star of hope, ascension, surrender, and purification. So there has been a purification process, celibacy, containing that life force energy, refining, purifying, going into connection with source. So there's some victory here. On the crown chakra, it looks like both of the counterparts have aligned with higher guidance. How are the masculines experiencing this victory in purification, surrender, and ascension towards this higher goal? Oh, the sun. They've reached some enlightenment here. This is the most positive card in the deck, masculines. So you really are catching on to this level of conscious awareness. Good on you. This is a beautiful connection to higher guidance, to source, to your infinite downloads. What do the masculines need to know about this? Six of Pentacles. Okay, so this is a card of reciprocity. In the inverse like this, it means that it's time to start sharing this, that you are getting this baseline so that you can now contribute from that newfound understanding. What are the feminines experiencing in this crown chakra? Waiting for divine timing. So the feminines are being told, pause, wait for it kind of energy. Advice for the feminines. So yeah, feminines are getting this higher guidance that something is around the corner, that good things are coming. The Wheel of Fortune is abundance, blessing. So feminines are getting that intuitive guidance on Most High that something is about to shift in their favor for these connections. Advice, King of Pentacles, commitment, stability. So feminines, you are getting these downloads on how to access your own consistency, stability, grounding, this very practical, realist energy coming in. You're getting these nudges that your stability is being anchored. And masculines, you're getting a lot of positive reassurance that I'm hearing you're coming onto the same page as your feminine, that the last remaining things that need to come to light so that you can have a mutual connection on some level here, that if it hasn't been fully mutual, or if you haven't been on the same page, or you haven't had certain communication, this is talking about it being on the horizon. So feminines, you might be feeling like this kind of transparency between the two is coming in, and it may be heralding this commitment coming in the connections. So on this crown chakra, there's victory. There is streamlining, there's ascending to the next level. Both are getting these instructions that things are going to be going to a more balanced, mutual, committed level. So the masculines are feeling it in fair exchanges, same page kind of energy, and feminines, you're feeling that as a consistency, as a commitment to the connection. What can we see on the third eye chakra, the intuition? What is it we can see for the intuition in these connections at this time? Discernment, discipline, and order. So there seems to be some rhyme and reason in the near future, because this fell out a little bit into the future. There's going to be more order to these connections, not so much second guessing or wondering or hot and cold. It's balancing out, and there's going to be more, I heard transparency, more order coming in, more consistency. And we also get star body matrix, multidimensional consciousness, and holographic information. So as humanity ascends, so too are these connections. As these connections ascend, so too do they contribute to humanity coming into a more coherent way of interacting, a more rational, balanced, stable. How are the masculines experiencing these intuitive guidance nudges that are helping bring to highlight structure and order and life-affirming, same page energy, emotional transparency? So masculines are realizing that they have some big emotions coming up regarding these connections, and they're feminine. So masculines, you might be getting some intuitive hits right now that where you thought you were emotionally unavailable or emotionally unscathed or emotionally set apart from the intensity of these connections, you may have been smug even, I'm hearing, about your feminine's emotions or their lack of emotions. You cannot deny now that you have some intuitive misconceptions going on, because there are emotions coming to the surface that you didn't think you had here. That's interesting. Advice for the masculines. King of Swords. Yeah, this is head over heart. So your heart is saying, excuse me, there's some inconvenient emotions happening, and I don't want to sound like I'm making fun, but that's what I'm getting. It's like, look at this masculine, like, yeah, gee, I didn't want to see it that way. And then this emotionality of the heart saying, excuse me, sir. You've got some things to really acknowledge here. And this King of Swords is like, really? And they're going back to the drawing board. It's like this King of Swords is not quite as confidently head over heart as they used to be. So the intuition is counterintuitive for the masculines right now, because their hearts are speaking louder than their control paradigms. So masculines, you might have found a weak spot in your armor, is what I'm hearing. How are the feminines dealing with this new kind of arrangement coming in? Two of Cups. So feminines are kind of feeling like the intensity and the novelty of these connections is wearing off. They might be second guessing if this is really love. Something that your masculine may have dropped the ball with emotionally might have made you feel like off-putting. It feels like the masculine's coming down off the pedestal for the feminines here a little bit. So you might be feeling like it's taking too long or dragging out, or that your masculine just isn't admitting to the love. What is the advice for the feminines here? Nine of Pentacles in the inverse. This is a card of codependency. So feminines, what I'm getting from this is use your intuition with all your might to bring yourself out of feeling like you're at the mercy of whether your masculine gets it or not, whether they're enlightened to this or not. They have to go through the process that brings them into their full wholeness, and you have to be in your wholeness while they do that, so that nobody's pulling on each other's energy and rocking the other one's boat. You give your counterpart permission to do that. You might feel like it's bound and you don't have any recourse, but this is saying, feminines, hold your own and really get it straight that you don't need to be drawn to, attracted to somebody that's not ready, willing, and able to engage with you. It doesn't mean they're not your preference or that you feel like you shouldn't leave the door open for them, but it is a matter of getting it straight that you deserve somebody who's fully available, emotionally ready to access this connection on the level that you know you require to have safety and safe container, and to be able to unfold and explore a love of a lifetime. Don't delude yourselves, feminines. Don't project blame. Don't make your masculine the bad guy. Don't gloss over things that aren't there yet. Don't be in limerence. Don't overly desire something that is not available. Remember, this is a Virgo full moon, which is practicality, authenticity, realism. And so the masculines are being intuitively guided to be very realistic about the emotions that you actually have. No more carpet sweeping those emotions in these connections. Go back to thinking about it. I'm going to hold this dude up again that is like, oh, yeah. And the feminines, wait for it. Wait for them to have this, oh, yeah, moment. What can we see for the throat chakra? So this weekend, anything coming up for communication, throat chakra, what do we see? Seal of Venus, so self-love, elemental, magic, and protection. So if there's a pause, it's because there's a protection in the energy. This is a time to really have compassion, forgiveness, self-love, nurture, really have that, communicate your needs. I'm hearing for some, if transparent communication is not in the stars, in the cards for you, really be honest with yourself with what you need. With this intuitive guidance, masculines, you really need to be honest with yourself about what your emotional needs are in a relationship, and how this connection is the first connection, the only connection in your entire life that has provided you that safety and that actual love. And so you need to really be present with that. Feminines, this protection is, you know, you're not going to align with this counterpart if they can't meet you in that impeccable match kind of love. But how are the masculines experiencing this self-love protection? Doing the inner work. You're really getting it sorted there. You're seeing the interconnectedness of everything you've experienced, masculines, and it's helping you be accountable. It's helping you draw from all of these resources, your the elements that you've been working with in this journey. You're pulling on all of those factors. What is the advice for the masculines? Page of Pentacles, this is moment to moment, just showing up with what is relevant, being a practical realist, and each awareness that comes to mind, really looking at it with kindness, with authenticity, not projecting what you want to see, but really looking at it objectively for what it is, for the facts. A lot of the thinking outside the box, or looking at your scenario through eyes of, like, fresh eyes. If this emotion that you're starting to tap into with your feminine is telling you something that doesn't fit neat and tidy into the box that you have designed in your mind, It's about really being curious if it could actually be better than that cookie cutter aspect. This is where you become the specialist of your life. This is where you start talking to yourself, because this is self-love on the communication, the throat chakra. It's about self-talk, masculines. It's no longer about people pleasing or trying to explain something to people outside of your connection. This is really about looking at the factors involved in your particular connection and how it all works together with harmony, how there is kindness here, how there is presence, how there's consciousness between the two of you, how this has helped you become a better person, how you've been inspired, how you've drawn on resources that you did not previously have in your toolkit through this journey. I'm really seeing that this is about telling yourself how much value this relationship brings in your personal growth, and seeing that growth, seeing that abundance, seeing that specialization instance to instance in this scenario where you have been building this foundation, and how related to your feminine it really is. How this radical scenario between the two of you has added so much contrasting value to make you into and inspire you to become a better version of self. Like, you really are seeing the best being brought out of you here, and it's time to really affirm that and really see that that is the true reason you stay with this connection. What are the feminines experiencing? This truth, your inner masculine, the King of Swords. So this self-love, this is legal matters and financial matters as well. So this is like a very action-oriented. King of Swords is precision, strategy. This is the strategist. So feminines, this self-love is like a catapult from, you know, this energy of this new moon, or sorry, full moon, maybe till the next new moon, is really going to equip you to take action and take care of business and finalize documents, paperwork, practical things to free yourself from binding, duty, things that are no longer a fit. This is taking care of business. This is bossing up by getting your to-do list pared down, taking action, being able to take action. I'm hearing the astrology is allowing you to really be proactive right now, but also to allow yourself the self-love to take reprieve from your connection without fear of being abandoned or looking like you're rejecting your masculine. This is a time to really give yourself that grace period to do what is needed to activate your decision making right now. What is the advice? The Devil. You've got to deal with these material realm logistics. As the divine feminine, you're usually up in the ethers. You're usually in the emotions. You're specializing in the feeling of things. This is the nitty gritty practical. This is like taking once and for all action in the physical. The Devil is the most physicality you can have in a card. And so this is really taking care of business in the material realm. And so self-love for a feminine is really giving permission to dive into these things that are very, very focused, that pull you into an egocentric tunnel vision. And you have to deal with the details, the practical things that will make you free and clear to pursue. So this is your window to really set a game plan, feminines, and begin checking off that list, taking action, not procrastinating, finding strategies. Yeah, this is your activation to get down to it, feminines. What can we see for the heart chakra for the counterparts? We are getting peace, healing, gentleness, non-judgment. So there's a lot of pep talks for each here, but this open-hearted, compassionate, heart-centered attitude where it is really freedom coming in and free flow, being in the zone, allowing for things to be grace-filled. There's grace on the heart here. How are the masculines experiencing this? Here's the Six of Coins for the second time. So this is another card. This card in the upright represents growth and prosperity. In the inverse, there is an accountability and onus on you masculines on the heart space to begin to contribute, to not take more than you give, to have equality here. It's not an eye for an eye. This is exponential when we contribute together instead of, the scarcity that says, I'm not going to unless they do. This is now being proactive with a generous spirit. This is investing more in without expectation of return, but seeing how that intention and that fertilizer, that input, that incentive makes things come alive. So this is considering on the heart space. It's like coming into the freedom from negative condemnation of self with the self-talk that we just saw about putting in the work and seeing things as becoming easier, becoming more fluid for you to, like the bulk of that dark night of the soul work, learning how to put in the work, you're catching stride with that. And so now it's going to be easier for you on the heart space to forgive yourself for the things that you've screwed up in the past or that you're beating yourself up about not knowing better at the time. This is really allowing you on the heart space to begin believing in a new potential, a new future where you can show up, where you don't have to be shameful about how it's been in the past. You can wipe that slate clean and intend growth rather than playing small or holding back because of the missteps or the short-sightedness of the past. I'm getting feminines that your masculine wishes they handled you differently, wishes they handled the connection differently, but now growth is the priority rather than, feeling like it's a blow to their ego that they didn't have it all sorted before. They're really looking at the value of growth outweighing their pride. Pride is a huge theme right now in the energy. What is the advice? Seven of Swords. You don't have to tell anybody that you have remorse. This is the getting down to business and having some strategy. So rest on it. Find your truth. The two shall be left standing. So, masculines, your feminine is not going to leave you high and dry. Your true feminine, your aligned one, the two shall be left standing. When you integrate all the things that you need to about forgiving yourself, changing your behavior, wiping the slate clean, opening your heart, not holding judgment, lording judgment over yourself, not telling yourself negative self-talk. When you come out of that abusive pattern within you, when you start telling yourself life-affirming things, growth-producing things, positive, motivating things, encouraging things, beautiful things, resilient things, you're going to start moving this forward. But right now there is a need for you to let go of judgment of self-condemnation. And you don't need to tell anybody you're doing it, but just watch the results that happen. Watch the alignment that comes in with your feminine too on the heart space. Something has gone too far for the masculines and they want to come out from the brink, I'm hearing. Feminines on the heart space, yes, this beginner's eyes. There's a real non-judgment. There's a compatibility coming in. Feminines, you're really looking at whether things are compatible and letting go of it needing to have to be your masculine and having to stress about whether or not they're going to show up correct, whether they're going to step into alignment or not. This is really you being free from the pressure and the struggle that clings and hangs on to and is vigilantly watching for them to do that. This is really like being okay with if they don't. You will be given another counterpart if they don't. But this relaxed, peaceful, gentle allowance, non-judgment, not, taking it personally or making them the bad guy. When you can just clear that slate, this is where this spiritual pressure is removed, the physical pressure, the mental pressure, the emotional pressure. You know how you chase or you're tempted to. All of those pressures, those are different ways of chasing, pursuing, being vigilant. When you take that off, when you allow for divine will, that divine intervention to come in, it's not on you. It's between your masculine and the divine. And so they're going through this purification. They're being guided on the highest levels to put down these folly ways, these silly ways, and to begin to see productive ways of bringing in more honesty about their emotions. What is the advice for the feminines here? 9 of Swords. 9 of Swords is sleepless nights. This is, overthinking. It is anxiety. Basically, if something gives you anxiety, tell yourself you're putting yourself in harm's way to keep cycling those storylines, and look for the freeing thought, the truth that sets you free. So if you're in anxiety, ask yourself for that flip. If something is causing you to feel anxious, ask higher guidance, how else can I look at it so I can get out of anxiety? You need to take all the pressure off, all the hypervigilance, all of the worry, all the obsessive stuff. You need to clear that. You need to choose with your free will to come into peace, allow the healing, come into gentleness, and drop the judgment and not need to know. Balance yourself out, feminines, on the heart space. That means breathing techniques, patience, doing things you love. Literally, it is something that you can do with conscious mastery. And this is a journey of mastery, so it is within your control. You are not outside of your own ability to balance yourself out. It's a matter of how you're looking at it. So when we're telling ourselves particular thoughts that keep us bound to certain expectations, fears, anxieties, it's because we believe the thing that we're thinking that is causing that result. If we are in suffering, what we are thinking is attachment. So if we are in suffering, we have the ability to change our thoughts, to think of things, or to see things from a different vantage point, so that we are no longer experiencing the suffering. And that does not mean spiritually bypassing. It means asking for understanding. It means sticking with whatever it is that's confusing us until we get the answer that sets us free, the truth that sets us free. So a shortcut for that is, what would be the truth that sets me free here? What would a different way of looking at it be that lightens the load, that removes the burden, that takes the anxiety out of it? On the heart space, it's your job, your primary relationship is that with self that balances you out so that your heart is in non-judgment, peace, healing, and gentleness. And so feminines, right now, don't be focused on what it is for your masculine. Bring yourself back to equanimity. What can we see for the solar plexus? So personal empowerment. Can we see? Oh, yeah. Flower of feeling. So emotional EQ, emotional availability, emotional transparency is now the new cool. The new cool. Did you hear that, masculines? Your emotional vulnerability, your honesty, your sincerity, your authenticity, emotional authenticity, sincerity, not sarcasm, not eye for an eye, not poking and triggering, but genuine. You can own your feelings without proving a point, without being rude, without being blunt, without being hurtful. You can learn to speak about your emotional take on things without fear. When we have fear, when we don't allow ourselves, when we don't own our emotions, when we are denying them, it comes out in really awkward, strange ways that doesn't necessarily give off the vibe that we're intending. So masculines, it's time to really allow yourself the safe space to honor your feelings, to begin to decipher them, to feel out where they are in your body, your mind, your emotion, to scan yourself and to really represent those things, because you are entitled to your feelings. They are coming from legitimate places. Cause and effect, imprinting, the actual availability of love, true love in these connections. Your emotions are coming online on a deeper way right now, and I'm getting there are some real big feelings, real earnest feelings coming up for the masculines with this Virgo full moon. Compassion, emotional awakening, and forgiveness. So forgiveness is a big deal right now. So if there are tender emotions coming up for you masculines, this is saying that forgiveness is a key to bring these connections into a growth motion, rather than having these connections at a pause or stalemate or stagnation. Forgiveness is what's going to be empowering these connections to move forward in the next stage here. And cellular light, bioluminescence, self-illumination, simplicity. So the simple truth is, you need to know what is it for you masculines, your emotional take on things, but also forgiving, so that you are not in an resentful, angry animosity about anything. You don't have to channel emotion in an angry way. Sometimes masculines, it's more acceptable for the masculine polarity to have an outburst, that they're not allowed to be more tender or feminine in that expression. And so sometimes that anger, we don't allow ourselves to express that anger, or we feel like we don't want to look a bad way, and so we stifle it. But there are other ways to have it come out. One is you can forgive. You can be very, very forthright with the need for forgiveness. When you forgive, it is a gift to you. It is more important that you forgive for you than for the other person or the perceived wrong. It's how you move past it. It doesn't mean forgetting, but the simple truth is you need to understand what is at the root of unforgiveness and trace that to its origin, and not hang on to things that cause you to have blockages and resentment or fear. When you can see why you have chosen unforgiveness, you can take accountability for the healing and moving yourself into beliefs and scenarios that do not put you in harm's way. But only you know how those sticky situations hit inside you, and how to untie those knots, those emotional triggers and hurts. And so talking about things, acknowledging to yourself that you don't have to just be tough and take it, that you can actually be entitled to having had hurt feelings, or allowing your feminine to trigger you. If you've been too cool for school, not admitted that you've been in pain, you've covered it up, you've gone away and licked your wounds, you haven't processed things, you've carpet swept it. This is the time to have actual empowerment by allowing yourself to admit that you've had difficulties, that you don't have it all together, that you don't know all the answers, that somebody like your feminine or karmic partners have hurt you. You're allowed to acknowledge that you've been hurt, that you're afraid of being hurt. You know, in many cases, divine feminines won't have intentionally hurt you, but a track record of being hurt will sometimes make it seem like the feminine is harming you intentionally when they have not. And you don't need to take such an abrasive approach with that eye for an eye. This is being very honest with self, masculines. What can we see for how the masculines are feeling this? And I want to say that that was a lot channeled for the masculines, I think, because There is a grounding of this mutuality coming in for them, but feminines, all of those messages hold true in your own internal masculine polarity. How are the masculines experiencing this empowerment? The best way they possibly can. This is the temple embodiment for that energetic savvy, where you are going into this infallible chieftain, leadership, shamanic energy that is whole. You've reclaimed this divine aspect because you've transmuted the experiences into empowerment. This is like a martial artist, shamanic level, moving with energy, streamlined and directed and productive and overcoming. This is also sensual and monogamous and passionate, inspired, fully embodied with that inspiration. You have to clear out the lack of forgiveness. You have to clear out anything dishonest to self and to other within there. This is that purification and ascension into this diplomat energy that represents the higher wisdom that is present with it, that walks in it, that walks the walk and talks the talk, that is whole, that is included, spiritually included. So masculines are experiencing themselves coming into this leadership, this energetic, divine, spiritual aspect of self, coming home to self, becoming energetically included. What is the advice? I'm seeing this feminine here as a karmic partner, like a third energy. So with third-party situations, karmic partners, that healing about letting go of karmic partners from the past, retrieving your empowerment from failed relationships or karmic petty relationships or relationships that bruised your ego. This feminine energy is giving me this feeling like a karmic feminine blaming the masculine for their unhappiness, and the masculines rising above that. It's like flogging, like these feminine energies were always making the masculines try to jump through hoops that were unattainable and lording it over the masculines, making them feel like they weren't good enough. They were never going to figure it out. They were never going to be successful, and to keep them under control. So masculines leaving behind those kinds of ego triggering relationships and really coming into your whole empowered mastery here, so that you're no longer feeling less than with these unattainable karmic feminine energies. I heard Jezebel energies, seductress energies, those who use their sexual powers to manipulate and persuade and control and dominate and distract and abuse. There is, and that doesn't mean that the feminines that you have engaged with do that consciously. It's a very primitive control, subconscious resource that disintegrated or wounded feminine energy plays upon, that preys on the masculine, that light in the masculine, because they don't have it in themselves, and so they want to get that from the masculine. So you're finding this direct to source now, masculines, and you're letting go of being played by underdeveloped, wounded feminine energy, and you're starting fresh with this cellular light. You're clearing the slate. You're forgiving karmic partners. You're forgiving the feminine. You're forgiving feminine energy, and you're holding your own, and you're no longer biting on those temptations for anything lower vibrational. So some of these lower vibrational animosities may have just recently come to light regarding your connection, that you might be watching this for, masculine. So please differentiate where you've projected past relationships onto your feminine, or where there's been inconvenient overlap and where emotions have come to bring in. Don't get caught up in the emotionality of whatever's just come to surface for this full moon. See it for what it is, and clear the slate and thank it for being shown, so that you can forgive and move into a more purified connection with your feminine. How are the feminines experiencing this empowerment? So there is third-party heartache in the energy. So this karmic feminine contrasting energy is here. So feminines are feeling the past, feeling third-party situations, feeling the heartache. What is the advice for the feminines? So masculines, there is a lot of emotional processing for your feminine as well. 8 of Wands, yeah, this is the telepathic connection. So everybody's kind of feeling something in the energy coming to light to be cleared right now that has to do with disadvantage or power hierarchies or unspoken heartache. There's something ready to be released and forgiven in these dynamics that's shared with this energetic 8 of Wands, the telepathic astral connection between two, but the feminines are feeling it right now, masculines. The best apology is changed behavior, and it feels like masculines are rising up into their potential right now to choose their highest expression. This is my monogamous king too, so third parties are no longer going to be needed for continued growth. It's time to outgrow the third parties and really start specializing in intimacy and togetherness. Heck yeah. So there's an empowerment for one-on-one monogamous going deep, because certain forgivenesses are coming in from past that have to do with contrasting energies. Now that doesn't just have to be like sexual partners, that can be other karmic belief structures. Take it how it resonates. Any third energy, doesn't matter, but there is a high likelihood themes of other people being involved are coming to highlight for this full moon. What can we see for the sacral chakra for the counterparts? Ooh, something went all over the place. We are getting spiritual strength, virtue, and valor. So there's something that has risen up and above these lower vibrational, past, cringy, uncomfortable dynamics. There's victory here. There's spiritual strength. It's like both counterparts have seen a higher light, a higher love, a more stable, grounded, real connection between the two that transcends these weak or developing energetic experiences from the past. There seems to be victory over that, where these lessons were necessity to bring each into a spiritual strength. What are the masculines experiencing? They're digging deep for the elements of this. Masculines, you're really gathering these resources and these elements that you've experienced to bring back the wisdom, bring back the empowerment sexually. So it's like redemption. This is where that monogamy is grounding, because you're seeing how it's just not worth it to have your ego stroked. That's not genuine, empowered connection, intimacy, sensual connection. What is the advice for the masculines? The High Priestess, mercy and humility. Yeah, you know who your High Priestess is, masculines, the Magician and the High Priestess. So this combination is an ideal counterpart scenario. You're stepping into your Magician aspects, masculines, to match your High Priestess. So this is the unspoken unity between the masculine and feminine, where there is a very magical, powerful masculine action, but the masculines are stepping into those shoes here to match their very aware feminine. This is like a perfect match, this Magician and the High Priestess, but the masculines are coming into it with this recent exposure of something that was an elephant in the room is being brought to highlight, and it's empowering the masculines to step into being able to be confident that they can match and manifest with a high priestess? How are the feminines experiencing this? You're not going to be putting up with red flags. You are at your edge of discernment. So if it doesn't work for you, you're not here for it. So feminines, you may have been fielding some advances lately by your masculine, and you may be saying, no, that doesn't sound like my idea of fun. You may be communicating that with tact and timing, grace, clarity. But you are on the edge of what you will accept and what you won't. What is the advice for the feminines here? So you've come into your spiritual strength where you're not falling victim to temptation or caving. You're not just allowing your masculine to come in with old energy and glossing over it, saying, I'll take what I can get. You are no longer just taking what you can get, or, not their full potential. And Three of Cups, yeah, you're protecting this love. You're advocating for what you're worth now, feminines. This is so beautiful. You've got the spiritual strength to say, I'm not just a side piece. I'm not just an option. I'm not just a quick fix. I love myself. I value myself more than to just be friends with benefits or a third-party situation. So yeah, this is just your permission to keep focusing on the love and what you're really worth. As your masculine comes into the knowledge that they are worthy of you, you're also coming into the knowledge that you're worthy to be celebrated as the best one for your counterpart. Your masculine is realizing that they are worthy of being the best one for you, and you are worthy of being the best one for them. What is the root chakra on this Virgo full moon? What can we see for root chakra what is grounding in the root chakra for this Virgo full moon? Seal of indivisible visions. It fell on the Magician. So the Magician, the masculines are seeing that you truly are a part of them, a reflection of them, inseparable, indivisible from them. This journey is the two of you becoming this union, grounding, this synergy, the harmony, the tandem development, the growth between the two. It's a holistic experience. Psychic vision, hidden meanings, and dream readings. So there's a lot of intuitive understanding, reading between the lines, subversive understanding, deep archetypal things being brought to light. The full moon is a very highly intuitive energy, but it's bringing practical assessment of the love, the emotions here, the validation of these connections. The proof of the love is being seen. How are the masculines having this revealed to them about how integral the two of you are to this growth? Their eyes are being wide open to higher love and what that is and what that looks like, and how that's playing out differently for each counterpart connection. But they see you, these two geese in unison, flying together in unison here as tandem. What is the advice for you masculines? Yes. Eight of Swords in the inverse, meaning opening up, stepping out of your limitations, stepping out of holding back, freeing your tongue, freeing yourself, allowing you to communicate, not being bound up in all that overthinking. This is expressing your emotional truth, expressing your heart. I just heard some of you will say, I love you for the first time to your feminine, because it has been shown to you that this is in fact love, and you're coming into your empowerment to admit it. Wow. What are the feminines experiencing? Yeah, karma, this revelation. This is the redemption day. Feminines, you're bearing witness to revelation of your masculines starting to awaken to their true emotional understanding of themselves and this connection. And the card of karma here, there are karmic influences being talked about, navigated, released in tandem here. So whatever's playing out in the connections, karmic lessons with third parties, with other energies are being touched on here in the energy. And there's forgiveness and progress and movement coming through. What is the advice for the feminines? So, you know, all these divine feminines holding hands here saying, we've got this, let's birth this, let's allow this, we've got you masculines, let's shed this, let's as humans shed this layer of delusion and growth and progress with needing all these extra energies. Let's birth a new reality where we can go deeply together in safety as pairs and touch on that infinite within each of us. What is the advice for the feminines? Seven of Swords. The masculines have that Seven of Swords strategy, and this is look at your own tendency to delude yourself by getting ahead of yourself, by wishing it was something different and kind of convincing yourself that you're not. There's a disconnect, feminines. This is a practical moon. So wherever your reality does not align with what you're deluding yourself or wishful thinking or over emotionality, wherever you're experiencing a contrast between what is and what you are projecting you want, where there's a disconnect in the truth and what you're trying to make fit, this moon, get back to square one and just be present with what actually is, because that's where you can have relevant growth and you're not in disappointment or you're not oblivious to the opportunities in front of you based on reality. And so don't get ahead of yourself. Really, as your connection starts to emotionally emerge, don't be 20 steps ahead. You want to have a relevant connection with your counterpart. Okay, many blessings. Bye for now.